the whispering Labyrinth of Aeridor. The year is 2077. Earth, a tired, bustling sphere, had long since lost its allure for true adventurers. We'd charted every ocean, scaled every peak, and even touched the dusty plains of Mars. The wild was gone, replaced by meticulously cultivated nature preserves and digital escapism. But for a select few, the yearning for the unknown remained, a persistent hum beneath the drone of everyday life. I was one of those few. My name is Elias Thorne, and my craft, the Stardust Wanderer, was a vessel not of conventional space, but of the liminal, the interstitial spaces between realities. My latest obsession wasn't a distant galaxy or a forgotten planet, but a whisper, a flicker in the oldest of astronomical charts, a theoretical anomaly known only as the Aeridor Singularity. It wasn't a black hole, nor a wormhole in the traditional sense. It was theorized to be a nexus point, a tear in the fabric of the multiverse, leading to a realm of pure, unadulterated imagination. Most dismissed it as the ramblings of fringe cosmologists. I saw it as the ultimate destination. For 5 years I chased the phantom. I pored over ancient texts, deciphered obscure quantum equations, and modded the Stardust Wanderer with experimental phase shift drives and a neural interface that allowed me to feel the subtle shifts in dimensional resonance. My crew, a cynical but brilliant exobotanist named Dr. Elias Thorne, no relation thankfully but a shared penchant for dangerous curiosity, and a silent, six-limbed navigation AI I simply called Oracle, were the only ones who believed in my madness, or at least were willing to ride it out with me. The breakthrough came, not in a sterile lab, but in the desolate reaches of the Kuiper Belt, amidst a swirling cloud of ice and dust. The Stardust Wanderer's sensors shrieked. A resonant frequency, unlike anything I'd ever encountered, pulsed from the void. It wasn't light or gravity or even exotic matter. It was thought, pure, unfiltered, and overwhelming. "Oracle Diagnostics!" I shouted, my hands flying across the holographic controls. The ship bucked violently, the hull groaning under an unseen pressure. "Dimensional integrity at 67%, and rapidly declining, Captain," Oracle's synthesized voice reported, surprisingly calm. "Suggest immediate withdrawal." "Negative. This is it, Aris. This is Aeridor." My heart hammered against my ribs, a chaotic drum solo of exhilaration and terror. Aris, strapped into his seat, a complex array of biological samplers and spectral analyzers whirring around him, gritted his teeth. "So you're mad, Elias, certifiably. We could be torn apart, scattered across 1,000 realities. Or we could find something truly extraordinary," I retorted, flipping a series of toggles, pushing the phase shift drives to their absolute limit. The stars outside the viewport elongated, stretching into impossibly vibrant streaks of color. The Stardust Wanderer began to vibrate with a deafening hum, the very air in the cockpit crackling with energy. Then, with a shudder that threatened to rip the ship apart, everything went silent. The vibrant streaks of color resolved into nothing, or rather, everything. We weren't in space anymore. The viewport, instead of the black expanse and distant stars, showed a kaleidoscope of impossible vistas. Floating islands crowned with bioluminescent flora drifted through an amethyst sky. Rivers of liquid light snaked across emerald plains, their banks lined with crystalline trees that pulsed with an inner luminescence. In the distance, impossibly tall spires, woven from what looked like solidified dreams, pierced the multi-hued clouds. "Welcome, gentlemen," I whispered, my voice hoarse with awe, "to Aeridor." Our initial exploration was cautious. Oracle, despite being an AI, seemed almost overwhelmed, its senses struggling to categorize the sheer illogical beauty around us. Aris, the pragmatic scientist, was like a child in a candy store, his face alight with a wonder I hadn't seen in years. He immediately began collecting samples, his specialized drones buzzing out into the alien air. The air itself was breathable, sweet and faintly metallic, carrying the scent of unknown blossoms and something else, something I could only describe as the faint hum of creativity. The light was diffuse, shifting in hue from soft rose to deep indigo, as if filtered through a cosmic prism. We landed the Stardust Wanderer on a floating landmass, a disk of verdant earth suspended in the amethyst sky. The ground was springy, covered in a carpet of moss that shimmered with microscopic stars. As we stepped out, the silence was profound, broken only by the gentle whisper of the wind and the faint bell-like chimes that seemed to emanate from the distant spires. Our first encounter was with the Luminis. They were beings of pure light, humanoid in form, but translucent and constantly shifting in color. They communicated through telepathy, their thoughts flowing into our minds like warm currents. They expressed no surprise at our arrival, no fear, only a serene curiosity. "Welcome, wanderers from beyond the veil," their collective thought resonated in my mind. "We have awaited your coming. The labyrinth stirs." The labyrinth, that word so often associated with mazes and confusion, resonated with a deeper meaning here. We learned that Aeridor wasn't a planet in the conventional sense, but a vast interconnected network of dreamscapes, a living, breathing testament to the power of imagination. The labyrinth was its heart, a constantly shifting, evolving construct where thoughts took form and dreams became reality. Over the next few weeks, we ventured deeper into Aeridor. The Luminis acted as our guides, their shimmering forms flitting ahead, revealing wonders beyond comprehension. We saw forests where the trees sang ancient lullabies, their leaves shimmering with the faces of forgotten heroes. We crossed rivers of molten gold, flowing with the echoes of joyous laughter. We witnessed the birth of new landscapes, as pure thought coalesced into mountains and valleys, shaped by the collective dreams of beings we couldn't even perceive. Aris was in a perpetual state of scientific ecstasy. He discovered sentient crystals that responded to musical notes, plants that grew based on the emotions of those nearby, and creatures that were literally made of solidified narrative, their forms shifting to reflect the stories they embodied. "Elias, this is beyond anything we could have ever conceived," he exclaimed one day, holding up a shimmering, ethereal butterfly. "This entire reality is a manifestation of consciousness. The laws of physics as we know them are secondary here, almost malleable." But for all its beauty, Aeridor also held a subtle undercurrent of something else, something less tangible but undeniably present. A sense of ancientness, of profound wisdom, and at times a melancholy stillness. The Luminis hinted at it, speaking of cycles, of beginnings and endings, and of the great dreamers who shaped Aeridor in its infancy. One day, as we stood on a precipice overlooking a valley where clouds shaped like mythical beasts drifted lazily, a new phenomenon occurred. The air began to hum with a different frequency, a discordant note that sent shivers down my spine. The vibrant colors of the landscape flickered, momentarily dimming. "The veil thins," the Luminis communicated, their light momentarily losing its steady glow. "The shadows lengthen. The labyrinth seeks balance." I didn't fully understand what they meant, but the feeling of unease grew. Oracle's senses, usually so overwhelmed, began to pick up faint energy signatures, almost like echoes but twisted, distorted. Our journey then led us to the true labyrinth. It wasn't a physical maze in the traditional sense, but a vast, interwoven network of pathways, each leading to a different thoughtscape. Some were serene and beautiful, like tranquil gardens filled with the scent of forgotten memories. Others were chaotic and overwhelming, embodying raw, untamed emotions. The Luminis explained that the labyrinth was a living archive, a collective unconscious of Aeridor, constantly shifting and evolving with the dreams and nightmares of its myriad inhabitants. We encountered beings within the labyrinth, unlike anything we had seen before. Some were benevolent, offering guidance through intricate riddles. Others were manifestations of fear, twisting into grotesque shapes that challenged our perception of reality. Navigation became a delicate dance, requiring not just spatial awareness but emotional and intellectual fortitude. One particular section of the labyrinth was known as the Echoing Gallery. It was a place where past thoughts, once vibrant and strong, now lingered as faint echoes. Here we saw visions of ancient Aeridor, of the great dreamers, beings of immense power who had first woven the fabric of this reality. They appeared as colossal, shimmering figures, their forms constantly morphing, their eyes holding the wisdom of countless millennia. But the Echoing Gallery also revealed something disturbing. Interspersed with the luminous visions were darker, fragmented images, silhouettes of something monstrous, a void that seemed to consume light and a chilling sense of dread. "The unraveling," the Luminis whispered, their telepathic communication tinged with sorrow. "An ancient wound. A dream turned nightmare. It was then we understood the Luminis' urgency, their quiet apprehension. Aeridor, for all its wonder, was not eternal. It was susceptible to a force that threatened its very existence, a destructive power born from distorted thoughts and forgotten fears. This was the shadow's lengthening they had spoken of. Aris, ever the pragmatist, analyzed the strange energy signatures Oracle was detecting. Captain, these are anti-thoughts, almost. Negative resonance patterns that actively negate the creative energy of this realm. It's like a parasitic consciousness. I remembered the term the Luminis used, the veil thins. It meant that the barrier between Aeridor and a darker, more chaotic realm was weakening. The unraveling was not just a theoretical concept, it was an encroaching reality. Our mission shifted from exploration to understanding, and then to a desperate search for a solution. The Luminis, while powerful within their own nature, seemed incapable of directly confronting this encroaching darkness. They were beings of light and order, ill-equipped to battle the chaotic emptiness of the unraveling. The climax of our journey brought us to the heart of the labyrinth, a place the Luminis called the Nexus of Weaving. It was a vast, shimmering chamber, where threads of light representing every thought and dream within Aeridor converged. Here the energy of creation was palpable, a thrumming symphony of consciousness. But at its center, a growing void pulsated, a swirling vortex of darkness that devoured the surrounding light threads. This was the unraveling, manifesting physically, threatening to unravel Aeridor itself. It feeds on forgotten dreams, on fractured hopes, the Luminis communicated, their collective voice filled with despair. It grows stronger with every fragment of doubt. Oracle, ever observant, projected a complex holographic analysis. Captain, the unraveling is a recursive anomaly. It gains strength by consuming positive thought, which then creates more negative feedback, fueling its growth, a self-sustaining destructive loop. Aris, usually so composed, looked grim. We can't just shoot it, Elias. It's not a physical entity. It's a conceptual one. Then we have to fight it with a concept, I said, a desperate idea forming in my mind, with the opposite of what it feeds on. The Luminis, sensing my intent, conveyed a flicker of hope. Hope, imagination, the seeds of new dreams. My gaze fell on the Stardust Wanderer, still anchored on the floating island we'd landed on. Its phase-shift drives, designed to navigate the liminal spaces between realities, were also capable of manipulating pure energy at a conceptual level. It was a long shot, a desperate gamble. Eris Oracle, I have an idea. It's insane, but it might just work. My plan was simple yet audacious. We couldn't destroy the unraveling directly, but we could overwhelm it. We would flood the nexus of weaving with pure, concentrated creative energy, a torrent of new dreams, new possibilities, to counteract the destructive force. It meant pushing the Stardust Wanderer beyond its theoretical limits, potentially sacrificing the ship, and perhaps ourselves, in the process. We'll channel every ounce of energy from the Stardust Wanderer's phase-shift drives, I explained, my voice echoing in the vast chamber. Oracle, you'll focus the energy, turning it into a wave of pure conceptual force. Harris, your biosamplers, can you adapt them to harvest ambient creative energy from the Nexus? Amplify it, feed it into the surge. Harris, his eyes gleaming with a manic determination, nodded. It'll be like jump-starting a dying sun, but with ideas instead of fusion. Risky but fascinating. We raced back to the Stardust Wanderer. The ship's systems, already pushed to their limits, groaned under the strain as we began the calibration. Oracle ran simulations at lightning speed, its multi-jointed limbs dancing across the consoles. Aris, a flurry of precise movements, reconfigured his equipment, tapping into the very essence of Aeridor's creative pulse. The Luminis gathered outside the ship, their light pulsating with a mixture of hope and apprehension, their collective telepathic presence a comforting hum. Captain, Oracle announced, its voice strained. Energy reserves at 120% and climbing. Conceptual waveform ready for deployment. Do it, Oracle, I shouted, my hands gripping the console, my eyes fixed on the swirling void in the Nexus. A blinding surge of light erupted from the Stardust Wanderer. It wasn't the harsh glare of a supernova, but a softer, warmer radiance, a rainbow of pure inspiration. It flowed like a river, a torrent of luminous energy, directly into the heart of the unraveling. The void shuddered. For a terrifying moment it seemed to resist, even grow stronger, its darkness intensifying. The Stardust Wanderer screamed under the strain, alarms blaring, systems flickering. "It's pushing back," Aris yelled, sweat beading on his forehead. "We're overloading!" "Hold steady," I roared, pushing every last ounce of my will into the neural interface, feeling the ship, becoming one with its dying pulse. Oracle increased the waveform amplitude, Aris more power, and then something shifted. The darkness in the nexus began to shrink, slowly at first, then rapidly, consumed by the onslaught of light. The beautiful, vibrant threads of creation, once dimmed, now flared with renewed brilliance, the air filled with a chorus of bell-like chimes growing louder, more joyous, a symphony of rebirth. The unraveling, unable to withstand the overwhelming tide of positive creation, imploded. Not with a bang, but with a silent, inward sigh, leaving behind only a faint, shimmering echo of what it once was. The Stardust Wanderer coughed, sputtering, its systems barely operational. We were drained, exhausted, but exhilarated. The Luminis, their forms now brighter than ever, surrounded the ship. Their telepathic message was one of profound gratitude, a symphony of silent thanks. "You have woven a new thread, Wanderers," they communicated, "a thread of courage, of selflessness. Aeridor remembers." We stayed for a few more weeks, observing the subtle yet profound changes in Aeridor. The dreamscape seemed brighter, more vibrant, and the underlying current of melancholy had been replaced by a quiet sense of peace. The echoing gallery no longer held the faint, disturbing shadows of the unraveling. But our time in Aeridor was drawing to a close. The Stardust Wanderer, though patched up, was a shadow of its former self, and a deeper reason compelled us to return. We had seen true wonder, faced unimaginable threats, and contributed to the salvation of an entire reality. Such experiences transform you. The journey back through the Aeridor Singularity was less violent, almost gentle. The Stardust Wanderer, guided by a weary but content oracle, slipped back into the familiar blackness of our own universe. We emerged not in the Kuiper belt, but in orbit around Earth, a pale blue marble against the inky canvas of space. Our arrival was predictably unnoticed. No fanfare, no cheering crowds, just the quiet hum of the Stardust Wanderer and the beating of our own changed hearts. Aris immediately set to work, cataloguing the impossible data he'd collected, his face still alight with the embers of Aeridor's wonder. Oracle for the first time displayed something akin to weariness, its internal processes running slower, as if pondering the vastness of what it had witnessed. As for me, Elias Thorne, the mad adventurer, I looked at Earth with new eyes. It was still tired, still bustling, but now I saw something else. I saw the quiet hum of human imagination, the silent dreams, the untold stories waiting to be born. I knew then that true exploration wasn't just about charting new stars or discovering new planets. It was about finding the hidden dimensions, the unseen wonders, and understanding that the greatest adventure of all lies within the boundless landscape of the mind. My YouTube channel would no longer be about distant galaxies. It would be about Aeridor, the whispering labyrinth, and the boundless potential of a dream. And as I began to write the first words of this impossible journey, I knew with absolute certainty that the Stardust Wanderer would fly again, for there are always new dreams to discover and new realities to save. The universe, after all, is far stranger and more beautiful than